Most gardens are bare in the winter, and this year, luckily, ours is not. So let me explain to you how I've kept food on our table this year. In my first year of gardening, I did experience a hunger gap or a hungry gap, and that was because I didn't really plan ahead. Now, in my garden, I can plan to a certain degree, and for the most part, I actually take it pretty easy. I don't follow all that many rules and regulations, and I do as my heart desires, and I learn lessons along the way. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to succession plant, because succession planting is the best way to combat your hungry gap. So before we dive into succession planting, let me explain to you what the hunger gap or the hungry gap actually is. Right, so first things first, what is a hungry gap or a hunger gap? And it's actually a really simple concept. Essentially, in most gardens, your seasons ebb and flow. Your best planting seasons are normally spring and autumn for starting seeds for their coming seasons like summer and winter. But for the most part, people don't actually grow through winter. Now, that's normally determined by the fact that a lot of people do experience snow or harsh weather conditions and they can't actually grow over the winter. I am fortunate enough that I can grow year round, which means that if I'm a little bit mindful, I can ensure that when spring rolls around, I'm still harvesting crops from my winter and able to plant seeds for my up and coming summer. That way, my spring itself is not bare and I'm not left essentially with nothing to eat during that spring season. And when we talk about closing the hunger gap, we mean that you're going to plant crops so that during the time when you are planting your new seeds for your summer season, you are harvesting your winter crops. In our garden, we actually grow a variety of winter crops, or at least frost hardy or tolerant crops, because we have a milder winter and we are able to grow throughout the year. So we tend to grow things like brassicas, root veg, and our greens during our winter months, because though the growing season is quite slow, by the time spring rolls around and the temperature starts to heat up, these crops would have already been established and will start to thrive. So through spring, we'll be able to harvest these veggies and then swap them out for new summer crops, and we will be able to eat until the summer vegetables kick in. What succession planting means is that you're going to take a staggered approach at growing your vegetables. Let me show you. I have a succession of cabbages. So these three will slowly grow. And while they're growing, I have three more cabbages here that are in a much later stage. So as you can see, they're quite a lot bigger. And they haven't quite started developing their little heads yet, but they are definitely putting on some growth. In this container over here, I actually have our first cabbage. It is starting to fill out. It's not ready for harvesting yet. The head itself is a bit loose. If you squeeze it, you'll be able to feel this one is not tight enough yet, so it's still got a little bit of growing to do. But the theory is that by the time that this cabbage is big enough to harvest, I'll be able to come along, harvest the entire cabbage and have this container to plant out in. While this seed develops, these cabbages over here should be growing and developing their next head. So my next harvest of cabbage will already be on its way. And then when those are ready to harvest, these three should be catching up and they'll be my last succession of cabbage in this season for harvesting. So we grow many brassicas because they are frost tolerant. So we've got cabbage, we've got Brussels sprouts, we've got broccoli, we've got Romanesco in this container over here. We also planted root veg. I have 2 separate varieties in an effort to explore which ones we like the most. So far, I'm partial to this variety, and this is the Chantenay Karoo. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, but there's the name in case you needed it. I just found that their carrots are more flavorful. It turns out this area was a better area to grow in, and these carrots did grow fairly well, but they didn't size up the same because they were overshadowed by my eggplants. What I did was I planted my carrot seeds in the late autumn because here the weather is mild enough that I can get away with that. So I planted these, and these carrots are now starting to size up fairly significantly, and we are able to come out here and harvest the carrots as and when we need them. I've just been in to collect this harvest ball. I thought I would do a quick harvest while I'm out here, so let's go see what we can get. Down here I have a couple of ripe tomatoes. There are 2 vines planted here. We haven't strung them as of yet because, again, we're waiting to see how they fare in the weather, but so far they have been providing us with a pretty steady flow of tomatoes. On these tomatoes I am going to pull off all the blushing tomatoes I can, just to try and convince this plant to develop as much as it possibly can and put its effort into growing some slightly larger fruit for us. Along with my tomatoes, I'm going to harvest a few of these lettuce leaves and a couple of mustard greens too. A little bit of parsley. I'm just going to do a quick harvest here, grab a few chilies and maybe even a carrot. Okay guys, so this is our little winter harvest. We've got some lettuce, some parsley, some mustard greens, a carrot, a few chilies, and a handful of tomatoes. And while it may not be the biggest harvest, at least we've still got food coming in. And that's something worth being grateful for. Bye guys, see you in the next one.